Alright, welcome back to a new video. We've arrived at chapter 2 and today I'll tell you all about using figures in LaTeX. We'll first talk about a single figure, like this one, the logo of the University of Groningen, and how you can refer to it within your text, how you can write a caption for it and how you can label it. And then secondly, we'll talk about this subfigure that you see here. So here's figure 2, but there's a figure and another one inside it, so a subfigure environment. Now, to start with the figure, as you can see here, I've written a lot of information about what's happening in the figure environment. And most of the things that I'll tell during this video, you can find back in the template itself. Alright, so let's now take a look at the environment that we see right here, the figure environment. As I said before, you have to begin and end every environment with that statement. And in between, we'd like to use an indentation so we can see which of the commands belong to that environment and to that level of that environment, which will become relevant later on. Now, we start with this square bracket capital H, which means we want to give LaTeX a strict constraint that we want to have this figure right here. So H stands for here and capital H stands for here, and don't make any exclusions to this rule. So there are also other options and I'll link that below to get you some idea of what you could do. For example, you could state T or B stands for top and bottom, and this would make a constraint for LaTeX to put that figure at the top or the bottom of your page. Alright, so the first command is centering, which basically states that everything within this figure should be centered, and that's what you can see here. The University of Groningen logo is centered. The include graphics command is the longest one within the environment. And so here you can see that we have a folder, images, and within that folder we have a image file, JPEG, rug logo red, which we like to use. So first, in order to be able to use that file, you have to upload it. And that's why I made a folder right here where I have this rug logo red uploaded. So that's important to remember. And then, of course, very useful if you write images and you type the R, you can already include it like this. And then here you have a optional command between two square brackets. So here we state that the width should be 75% of the text width. Now remember, the text width is what's not the complete paper width, but the text width is from here to here, and this margin is something that you can set yourself. But right now we say from here to here, take 75% and make that the width of this figure. Now remember that you can set the width here, but that also automatically scales the height of your figure. So scaling within LaTeX is almost always done with the width optional command. And I think this is something that you should play around with to get a feeling for it. Next up, we have the caption, and here we say this is the logo of the UG and the image is taken from, which is, I think, a good convention to use in every figure that you include that's not made by yourself, where you cite the reference which you took it from. So in this case, the University of Groningen is the tag, and it comes from the references.bib, and here is the tag, so University 2020 Groningen. But I'll link the video that we discuss referencing and citations a bit more right now. And then we have the label, Fig Uni logo, and so we can use this label, Fig Uni logo, later on in the text, for example here. And we can see this here in the document. The exact image can be written as figure 1. So this is figure 1, and simply by stating cleverref Fig Uni logo, it knows the number and the fact that it is a figure. Alright, so now we take a look at the subfigure environment, which is rather a large one. Here we have two subfigures next to each other, but we can also have three, for example. So let's take a look at the things that we recognize still. So in the figure environment, we say, for example, force it to here, so between this part of text and this part of text. But then here the subfigures, we force them, for example, to the top. We'll see what the impact is of that when I remove this command. So as you can see, without that top command, you will see that both are centered vertically. And well, you see that the sizing is not done properly. And this is something that I did on purpose, because I want you to know that the size ratio of your figures is essential to having two equal pictures. So take that into account when you upload your illustrations. So then we see here the begin subfigure command, and after that we see what the text width should be, which means that 47.5% of the text width should be dedicated to this figure, and 47.5% should be dedicated to this figure, figure B. From that dedicated space for the subfigure, the graphic should use the whole line width. And then here we include two different files, could be a PNG or a JPEG. So the Amazon Robotics and the Refinery. And then both have their separate captions and separate labels. And I like to use the label subfig, as you can very precisely refer to a subfigure within a figure environment. Then we have a command stating vertical space of 0.4 centimeters, which just gives us a bit of a space between the caption and the subcaptions. And as you can see here, as I remove the command force it to the top, you can see that the subcaptions have a offset of each other, which is not nice. And that's why I like to still keep this command between bold brackets. And so now the captions align nicely, as you can see here. Then you have the final caption and the label of the whole figure. Alright, so that was it for the subfigures. Definitely play around with it yourself. Get used to sizing your illustrations when you import those. And maybe also play around with having 3 figures within a single figure environment. So having a triple subfigure. Good luck and see you in the next video.